YouTube? Welcome back to another one of my videos. So in today's video, I have my boy Arvin with me here. We're gonna be talking about our top 5 brands. Now these are not gonna be in any particular order. I was originally gonna do this video on my own, but then I figured, you know what? How about bring someone else that is super into fashion and that has great taste. So we're gonna be going over top 5 brands in no particular order, but let's hop right into it. So starting off, for me, my first brand would be Haider Ackerman. Now, I know that Arvin always gives me slack for not owning any Haider, but to be honest, like the thing with like Haider that for me I feel is that I feel like a lot of his clothing is super versatile, and it's also like long-term wise, this is everything that I would personally love to wear. I find that like the designer himself, like Haider, does such a good job of creating like long-term wardrobes, you know. So like he's sort of like pleats on the trousers, you know, the jackets, everything just looks so well coordinated to me, in my opinion. So yeah, so Haider has definitely been like, even when I sort of kind of first got into fashion and stuff, like I feel like it was and then like Haider was definitely up there in terms of like the designers that I loved. So yeah, so I think, and also like sometimes I find that like if you're like super into a brand, it usually like tends to be like extremely expensive. Yeah. So then you end up not like shopping for it, or you end up not investing into it because you're like, you know what, I'll wait until I have enough money to kind of like splurge out and buy the exact piece that I want. And for me, that's been the case with Haider, where it's like a lot of the pieces that I want are usually like extremely expensive, and I'm just like, I can't justify dropping like 4K on a jacket just because it's Haider Ackerman. So I would actually rather wait. For sure. Yeah.
I guess for me, first definitely Yohji.
Yohji, yeah, always.
Huge like Japanese wear
design.
fan. So I think with him it's interesting because like I do gravitate towards brands that are more narrow, but like goes really deep in that narrow aesthetic. So like for instance with Yohji, a lot of suiting, a lot of black, but just the way he's able to creatively cut a single black suit where you're just like, how is there any other way for you to cut and sew a fucking blazer? I'm not allowed to swear.
Okay. Yeah, you know what the funny thing is on YouTube? Like if you swear at the beginning, they will like catch it and maybe like demonetize it or whatever. But if it's like a swear here and there and it's like in the middle of the video, they're usually pretty chill. They don't even check, you know, so it's like whatever, but yeah. But yeah, so Yohji for you, right? I mean, like to be quite frank, like man, you own like bare Yohji and it looks like insane on you, so it's like, it makes total sense.
It definitely works for like my body type, I guess, like the wide flowy, like I feel more comfortable wearing that, so that's definitely one of the my favorites.
I'll definitely say that's true. Like I find like one of the things that for me I like about Yohji is exactly that, is that like if you're tall and wider, like it's the perfect brand to wear, you know. And because it's like so many other pieces are just like black pieces, it's so easy to just kind of like wear it.
Everything goes with each other. And just like the historic value of Yohji.
100%.
Like coming into the 1980s, really shaking the fashion world, where like Versace and lavish, colorful brands that were out. It's interesting to even see like how stores back in the day, like all clothes were like folded and stuff until their stores came into Europe. They started like hanging clothes and like a very specific.
That's insane. And then everyone kind of just caught up on that.
It just changed the entire.
And that's the beauty of fashion, when sort of like a designer sort of comes in and like disrupts sort of how everything has been going. I mean, you could definitely say that about Virgil today. I mean, he did disrupt a lot of the things that are going on in the fashion industry. So I think that that's cool. But second brand, I went with Raf. Now, to be honest, like the reason why I went with Raf Simons is just because of how the designer has affected the fashion industry throughout the years. Like I think for me, when I think about Raf Simons, I think as someone like a pioneer, someone that sort of like established himself in the industry to the point where he's able to go to any sort of like house and sort of disrupt whatever they have going on. Like one of the things that I really loved was what he did with the CK. Like I find that like although he had to leave ultimately because I guess like the brand wasn't selling, if we kind of think about it, like, you know, like even the shirt that you gifted me, like some of the sweaters that he was designing for like CK, the boots, the CK boots that I own, like I think like it was so good, you know. And then also going back to his like fall winter 2016 like collection was just absolutely insane. So I think he's always been someone that, like, you know, if you are into fashion, I feel like everyone kind of does know of Raf, but also his work speaks for itself, where it's like we know that he's done so much for the fashion industry, but also his creativity has always been there, because I feel like he's managed to tap in every demographic, you know, not just the younger guys, but also like
he was definitely like one of the first designers that was able to capture like youth culture,
absolutely,
and mix it with like high fashion, where it's like
100%.
now like all these archive clothing, all these kids are like paying $40,000 for a bomber. It's like, what? But like I understand from an aspect like historic value, but at the same time these prices are
it's ridiculous. I find, you know, and I think that's why sometimes certain things can get bad connotation, where it's like, you know, people forget sort of like maybe that the designer has a lot of value, and in terms of his work, like you can really see that there was, you know, there was value in there, but there was also like purpose in there. There was, you know, he's really affected a lot of things in the fashion industry, and I feel that like because like he did cater to like sort of the youth, and the youth was like, you know, if you don't have that latest Raf piece, you know, and I think that was also the reason why that happened, was also due to the fact of like, you know, a lot of rappers kind of rocking some of the Raf pieces,
like
exactly, you know, and I think that kind of, you know, like rap and hip hop is basically pop culture today, and I think that like that sort of made the youth feel like, you know what, if ASAP or if this person is gonna own a Raf piece, I need to definitely go get my mom and dad's credit card and cop the latest Raf piece, you know. So but you can't take away the fact that he's definitely been like a pioneer in the game, and in terms of fashion, you know, there's no one better than him, you know.
For sure.
So yeah, how about you?
I guess my second designer, I'd probably say Comme de Garçons.
Dope, yeah. Ray.
Kind of similar to Yohji, but at the same time not. Like, I guess at the beginning, when they both first started and moved to Paris, similar, like oversized aesthetics, a lot of black avant-garde brands, but like just the way she's able to like almost blend the line between art and clothing.
It's insane.
Challenge like beauty standards, where she puts like puffer lumps in places that
you wouldn't think could be there, basically.
Yeah, like it's not your traditional beauty standard where like you have a lump on your shoulder. Yeah. But like it just really challenges the audience in terms, even like challenging is fashion art in a, I guess, scenario.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely agree with that. I think CDG has definitely also been a pioneer in the game. Ray's disrupted a lot of the things that go on in the fashion industry, and also like I feel like it's a brand that's kind of kept to itself, you know, in the sense of like they've always kind of done their own thing, and they've always kind of like, you know, aligned with what they believe in, and not what necessarily the fashion thinks is sort of cool or trendy. Like Comme des Garçons is just kind of always done its own thing, you know, and I think that like there's value in that, you know, and I think that that's how you sort of differentiate yourself from everyone else, you know.
Even how they like were able to build like Dover Street Market.
It's insane.
Challenge like the retail concepts.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're one of the brands that like have like so many different lines, but it never disrupts their mainline runway collections. Like, there's still kids who buy like CDG play that have like the hearts and stuff, but like nobody ever confuses the two, where it's the point where it dilutes its main brand. No, I think that's a fair point. And actually you would notice that like a lot of the people that are gonna wear the main brand wear CDG play, you know. In a lot of cases it's kind of like Y3 and Yohji. It's like the person that's rocking Yohji maybe will invest into a couple Y3 pieces here and there, but ultimately like I just personally think that like the person that's kind of wearing CDG main is probably a bit more sort of like fashion knowledgeable, and they have actual like interest in the designer and the brand and in sort of where it's going, where it's come from, and just like all around have an interest in like just taste, I guess, and the fashion industry. That's really interesting, because like I feel like a lot of brands that I tend to draw into or like are attracted to, like let's say a Yohji piece, if you break down everything, if I didn't know what it was, there's no marketing behind it. There's no like added image like, oh, if you buy a Gucci tee, everyone knows you're rich and that type of stuff. At the end of the day, it's a great quality blazer, amazing cut that you won't be able to find anywhere.
Yeah.
And like I feel like that's like the things that I tend to get drawn to.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. It definitely makes total sense. So the third brand I have, what did I have? Head Manor. Now, to be honest with Head, I find that like for me, it's just been over the last couple of years, you know, and I definitely don't think he gets as much credit as he should, because like if you just look at the last collection, if you look at what he's been doing, just the fact that he's been able to sort of like balance that sort of those proportions with that oversized look, but still making it look like so stylish and so neat. And I feel like the fact that he still kind of gathers, like, I mean, I know he's like based in France and like, you know, his ateliers in Paris, I think, and so forth and so on, but like it's like he still kind of goes back to like Tel Aviv, where he's originally from, and kind of like design with sort of that sort of culture and the French culture, and tries to blend in both together. And I feel like he's done such a good job, especially in his last collection. Like he's done such a good job of like presenting collections that kind of look really wearable, comfortable, you know, and stylish. And I think for me personally, I always say that like I love when a designer is able to introduce simplicity in their collection and make you feel like, you know what, this could, like, you could definitely have like a Head Manor uniform in your wardrobe. You know, you can have pieces that are just Head Manor that you rock every day and no one would even know what brand this is. You know, and I think that that's really cool. So,
it's like really simple, but the shapes are still interesting when
absolutely.
you put it on.
And the volume and the proportions, like it's just like, because sometimes I feel like a lot of people can kind of do the whole like oversized looks but kind of fall short, you know, and I feel like Head Manor kind of still makes it look like super classy but also super comfortable, you know, and for me it's like that's really what clothing is about. It's just finding that balance between comfort and style, you know. So
I guess third for me would be Rick. Personally, I don't own too many pieces because it is hard to, there is a certain body type that looks great with Rick, but just like what he brings to the menswear scene, very interesting cuts, very interesting designs that like challenges where like a lot of times we say menswear could be kind of boring, especially back in the day.
100%. He's definitely like, I see where you're going with it, because it's also like he's always kind of breaking the rules and kind of like establishing that, you know, the male space can wear this too. I think that's really cool as well.
I listened to a podcast from Style Zeitgeist by Eugene, and he was talking about Rick from like back in the day. And one thing that they brought up that was really interesting was like the fact that you could have a Rick piece on a hanger and it just looks like a slouchy piece that like doesn't look good, but once you put it on, the way it just forms onto your body, it's crazy to like an item that doesn't have structure but like has shape. Once you put it on, like that's something really hard to achieve. And like I never thought of it that way, but like that's a really interesting way of like thinking about it.
That's so interesting. It's so true, you know. And another thing about Rick too is that sometimes you look at certain pieces and you'll be like, man, I don't know how that's gonna work out. But then like a couple months later, like sort of like Rick fan is rocking it, and you start seeing different ways of styling it, and you're like, that's quite interesting. Like maybe it could work. So I think that's always so nice when someone is able to kind of like make you doubt yourself, in the sense of like, I don't know if I can pull that off, but then ultimately you kind of start getting ideas and you kind of start seeing it and you're like, you know what, I don't have a piece like this in my wardrobe. You become a bit more open-minded, and I think that like Rick has definitely managed to do that, where it's like it's a lot of open-mindedness, it's a lot of like trial and error. It's like certain things you look at first, you'd be like, whoa, I would never wear that, but then ultimately you kind of, it grows onto you and you're like, you know what, I actually wouldn't mind owning a piece like that.
And it's sick because he doesn't care, like he just creates his own universe, and like even from like the furniture, everything, like art is just he's like a true artist.
100%.
Which is rare these days.
I agree with that. The fourth one for me is Andy. I think it is for you too, so I guess we can just kind of talk about Andy. Now for me, the reason why is because, first of all, when I first really started taking an interest into Demeulemeester, I was what, like maybe 19, 20, you know, and that was actually one of my first like luxury pieces that I own. And I like, man, I cannot even tell you, it was a pair of trousers and I took care of them like there was no tomorrow. I only wore them if it was like literally going out like on a low key, like let's say a restaurant or something, you know, and I never wore them to school, and I kind of I took so much care of them, you know. And
okay, you now you don't
now I'm like, you know, and I used to think, because the thing is like the biggest issue that I had when I was kind of like in my teens was finding the right proportions, sort of like in terms of trousers. You know, I was watching a lot of like fashion shows, and I was super into all these like sort of back in the day there was like Les Frères Joachim, and there was like Street Etiquette, and there was Art Comes First, and I kind of used to watch how they dressed, and I would always be like, man, I want like that pair of trousers that fits exactly like that, and I couldn't find that at all these like fast fashion retailers. So ultimately I invested in a pair of like Andes that were like 50% off, but still cost like $200, $300, and I was broke for the rest of the month. And then from there on, I had just an attachment on the brand, and in a lot of cases it's just because of the simplicity of the brand, and also like sort of like the all black looks. Like for me personally, just like for you, like I tend to wear all black all the time, and I just feel like Andy does such a good job of creating pieces that can be an everyday wear that you can kind of utilize for any special occasion. And yeah, so I'll say Andy for me is definitely among my top 5.
Yeah. Andy's definitely a top 5 for me as well. A lot of her pieces, like what would be a good word to describe? Like it's like really romantic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You see like
100%.
a lot of like the see-through pieces. Draped out loose ends of stitching. Like the feathery accessories.
100%. Yeah, the long white shirts and like with the tight like slim cut trousers. I have a pair of trousers that I own. Unfortunately, I don't, like I told you, like I definitely don't wear it as much as I should. But again, it's like, it's everything that I love in a pair of trousers. So I hit, like the boots are amazing. The Andy boots are great. So yeah, definitely Andy would definitely be in my top 5. And then lastly for me, it's Thom Browne. Now, the reason why, again, like for me, really, like a lot of these brands, it's more so like longevity wise. Like, can I see myself wearing this for like a certain amount of years? Or can I see myself wearing this in my 20s, but also in my 40s, you know? And I feel like with Thom Browne, the reason why I love the brand so much is because it's really defined what uniform can look like, you know. And for me, I went to boarding school, and like I always had to wear uniform. So like just seeing like all the possibilities that there are with uniform, because I know that sometimes people think that like having a uniform can be quite restrictive, but I find with Thom Browne, they've managed to kind of create a sort of like a wardrobe that has all these pieces that kind of look similar but also look different, and you kind of still look stylish and cool. So I definitely would say that like over a long period of time, I would definitely see myself investing in some Thom Browne pieces. And I feel it's just like a level of class and a level of like sort of like taste that's like, if you're able to dress it well, you could definitely make a lot of things happen with Thom Browne pieces. So I'll definitely put it up there with my top 5. I was gonna say Yohji, but then we decided, you know what, let me go with Thom Browne. But Yohji as well, like just to touch on Yohji as well, it's just like, it's the same thing like you were saying. Like I feel like it's those pieces that, you know, long-term wise you can see yourself wearing, and also just looking at the design and the material and the quality of some of the garments that Yohji is able to make is absolutely unbelievable. Like I know I've tried some of your pieces, and I've always said like, once you try on Yohji pieces, or once you own a Yohji piece, like my long cardigan, it's like you really see why they cost so much. You know, the detailing that goes into them and like the design that goes into them is absolutely insane. So yeah.
For my last one, I'd probably say Margiela. I don't own a lot of pieces from them, but just like how it impacted like designers that you see now today, how deconstruction was like such a huge thing that he brought in as a concept and idea, and like playing with like materials that like not necessarily are the most luxurious, but like being able to be creative and make it luxurious through his designs.
Absolutely.
Is something very innovative.
I think that's gonna conclude today's video. My top 5 and Arvin's top 5. Is there anything else you wanna add? Is there any brand that you missed that you'd be like, you know what, this could have made my top 5?
Oh, there's definitely some.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of good brands out there, but like, we're gonna leave that for a
different topic. But anyway, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, you can follow Arvin on Instagram. I'll leave his link down below. And you can follow me on my Instagram and subscribe on my YouTube channel. I want to thank you all guys so much for the continuous support. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.
We're out.